be a party when the wolf comes home.
John Darnielle is a guy from California who formed the Mountain Goats in 1991. In the early years, it was him and an all-girl reggae group who went by the name of the Casual Girls, but they were performing under the name the Bright Mountain Choir at that point. Now, at what point he started having other people in the band, as part of the band, I don't know. Wikipedia says that there are times when it was just him. It also says there are times when there's collaborations and there are other members, and it all looks very confused to me. I can't really work it out. In the early years, another thing that I know is that he released short runs, as in not very many copies made, cassettes. And I think some of those, at least, were recorded directly onto a boombox, and had a philosophy that if a song didn't get recorded quickly when it was being written, then it ended up getting forgotten about. Now, it seems fairly clear at this point in time there are 4 members of the band. Wikipedia lists 19 people under former members and collaborators. They're obviously still going. And there are 21 albums listed. Unusually, they're not getting further apart as time goes on, which is what seems to normally happen with acts. So there's quite a high rate of output still. Hi, my name's Dan. So according to Wikipedia, this is the 9th studio album from the Mountain Goats, but their history is confused enough that I'm not necessarily confident that that's a clear numbering, given the number of cassettes apparently that were released early on. This is my first encounter with them as a band, so of course with this album as well. And so John Darnielle, who's the focal point of the Mountain Goats, is joined here by other musicians. So there's a bassist, there is a drummer, there's a pianist, there's a cellist, and there may be other things as well. So I think I've heard mandolin, but it might have been him faking a mandolin sound on the guitar. The kind of focal point is a backing that's kind of fairly fast strummed guitar generally. Sometimes it's slower than that, and it's usually acoustic guitar, not always. The piano is used in some of the tracks very sparingly. In some of the tracks it's got more of a role being played. There's some nice bits of cello in there as well. The drums, when they appear, are quite low in the mix, and it's quite kind of the whole thing's got a kind of folky acoustic feel. I'm not sure I'd go as far as to call it folk, but that's probably because I come from a British folk background where folk means something different than it means in America. I maybe would classify this as acoustic indie, maybe, not sure. But nah, I'm not sure it's that important. So Daniel's voice is, I would say, crisp and clear and quite matter of fact. It's quite clipped in some ways. It's not got a voice that's spectacular in terms of singing technique, but actually it's quite a good voice for what he sings. It's reasonably expressive, although some of it is done in a fairly deadpan kind of way. You can certainly hear the words, and it's easy to track what's going on. So, as I normally do, I listened to this album twice, and in between I read up about the band, about him, and about the album, and found out that the album, I kind of got some of the gist of it, but the album is predominantly about Darnielle's relationship as a child and as an older teenager with a stepfather who was abusively violent. and there's a variety of angles and incidents in here, including the track Lion's Teeth, which apparently he has said is a revenge fantasy. I think I'm quite glad that it is a fantasy, not a reality, because it sounds quite strange. It's worth a listen to. I would say it's all worth a listen to. It's good. It's not easy listening because it deals with some quite difficult subject matter. It's very human. It's very real. I think the line that got me most, I don't know why I'm laughing, is a line about when his stepfather was coming into his room to get abusive with him. It's just hoping that his stereo doesn't get broken, because this is kind of his lifeline. It manages not to be preachy. It manages to not all be negative about the stepfather, but it's definitely complicated, and there is obviously a complicated relationship going on there. It definitely doesn't make any attempts at showing himself as being particularly perfect, and there's a kind of dark side to him, as you can't quite imagine. You can imagine, and it particularly focuses on his 17-year-old self at various points. It's strong songwriting. It's really focused. It's a coherent album. So I would say the strength is in the words. It does this thing about singing about things that they're a bit more real than you expect. And so kind of specific things that just don't kind of fit into the normal kind of lyricism of kind of banal music. So it starts off by talking about a particular brand of aspirin, for example. And it's full of that all the way through. It's kind of got this almost jarring reality to it, and the way he talks about things. It's good. I really enjoyed it. I think it's quite a mature album in the songwriting. It's I always like it when people have done more than just a bunch of nice tunes. They've actually used the fact that you're singing about things to actually sing about something, rather than just produce some banal words. There are albums that I like that have that kind of side of things, but this definitely the focus is on the strength of the the storytelling and the songwriting that's going on here. That's what I think. And if anybody out there has got an opinion, and lots of people do have opinions, and it's great, I'd love to hear them. So please, if you have an opinion, tell me about this album or about the review. I don't really want to know your opinion about Coca-Cola or about Putin or about anything like that. It's not relevant in this particular video. I'm waffling, so that's it from me for now.
But I do wake you up, and when